Hello everyone! Welcome to Hail Twins series tutorial. We've already seen Whale Twins, many basic functions and settings. Today we will take a look at the most. The most commonly used function is called mark point. The marking point, first, after double-clicking to enter the editing state, is the first one in our plotting. It's just like this mark. The mark is needed too. There are multiple ways to load it into the picture. The first one is to directly click on it manually. The second one is from data. But when it comes to data, which can be divided into several types, it may come from latitude and longitude data, or from our spatial data. First, when you are making a marker point, because now Whale Twins actually has a very perfect document about marking points. I suggest you read the document more. First, we open the official website of Whale Twin, which is the official website of Wings Engine. Then click on the graphics tutorial in the usage tutorial. Then we search for mark point mark. Mark pointed. And then actually, we found the marking point overview. This is the entire tutorial, a basic tutorial. We've talked about the overview of the marking points, which is our free marking point, our data marking points, spatial coordinates and geographic information coordinates, including these formats. What specific format is used? For example, the longitude and latitude coordinates. Its longitude, latitude, and altitude are separated by commas. Our spatial coordinates are in this way. In this way. Our spatial coordinates are copied. I will demonstrate it later. We also use this to fill in. You can take a look at this kind of a coordinate and some basic settings. Meanwhile, we have an interaction with the marker points. For example, when we click and then click on it and the mark point panel, this is actually a very common question. That is to say, we usually need to make a panel, right? We made a panel and make a panel, and then we put it in the marking points. But I hope that clicking different labels, the data that pops up is different. How should we do this? Let's take a look. Like this. We can see. Refer to this article. You can also refer to my later video tutorials. If we teach in video, because video tutorials, relatively speaking, it doesn't have enough time to cover all the content. So, if you see some settings that are not covered, you can all find them in our documents. Of course, the linkage and selection of our markers. This is also the most and common functions. And some path animations of our markers. For example, for a vehicle, with a panel hanging on it. And then it walks. How to set this thing? You can all look at our documents. In today's class, Let's briefly introduce. Let's take a look at the first section of our document, which is the overview of our marker points. Let's take a look at our markers. From the use of free markers and the use of our data marking points. First, we click on this drawing and find the style of this marker point. We can choose this. The style of Mark II. Wait a moment and we can see that it can be moved. At this time, we just click on this marker point. It'll put one here. If we put it on the house, it will also be placed on the house. When I put it on the roof, on the chimney, click it. It will also be placed on the chimney. So everyone should pay attention to the position of this marker point, especially its height. If you click it in a wrong position, you can further adjust it. Let's click a few randomly. These are our free marker points. Among our free markers, the text on the top is directly are modified through the text here. I right-click to edit. Click it to rename. I can modify it to the modified ones. We can see that the text is automatically modified. Similarly, if the position we click is not good, such as if we click on this one and think it's a bit low, we can click it and then do a drag and drag it up. Drag it up or a little to the right. We can do further adjustments. Meanwhile, the most important function of our mark is its style. You can refer to our document for a detailed tutorial. Here I will simply to see where the style is set. Many users said that when I select this marker point, they don't see the style here because the styles of our markers are all set on the marker group. Note that this marker point's parent is. This is Mark II on this one. We can find it on this one. There is a mark subject here. We expand it. After expanding it, we can see the entire main body. It is divided into many parts. Each one corresponds to a part above. We have a display option here. We can turn it off. We can see that this part represents the circle below. This is a video. And for configuration 2, we can turn it off. We can see that it is this model. And for configuration 3, we can see that this is a text background board. Of course, where is the text? The text is marked here. Let's turn it off. The text disappears. We'll talk about it later. That is to say, this kind of marked text, the clarity of it. There will be some loss of clarity when zooming out. What ways can we use to further enhance the clarity of the text? Of course, you can also change it yourself. For example, I could add another one here. and then add a picture. I won't demonstrate it to you. In our entire marking subject, 3D video, and pictures, which can all be used. It can also be divided into different camera orientations. For example, look at this. We are facing the camera vertically. Look at this. Just like I turned it like this, it will follow me. The text panel. But if I view it from the top, it won't follow me. We can change it to face up, or always facing the camera. In this way, no matter how I turn it, it will always face my camera. This is something to note, but when we view from the top, we can take a look. The text doesn't face the camera all the time. We can go to the text markings below and select long press camera. Then the text and this can always long press the camera. This function is a very easy to understand function. And then the entire settings. We can delete it. For example, I don't want the bottom of this fan, the circle. We can turn it off like this. We can also directly click on the delete button, and it will be gone. If you are in a temporary test, you can turn it off first. If you really don't want it, just delete it directly. Of course, we can also add. We can click the plus sign to add one. After adding one, we can upload an image. For example, I'll just upload a random one. You can see this picture, and then I can put it below. It's facing up. This image is like this. Of course, we can also change its size. You can see it. We can change its size and offset, which are all possible. We can drag it around. That's it. In fact, this function is relatively simple and relatively intuitive. You can try it yourself. Let's take a look at how much this function costs. When we modify the style on the marker group, after modifying this style, all the marker points will automatically apply this style. Because sometimes there may be hundreds of them. There are hundreds of these marks. We can't change the style one by one, so we changed it on the marking group. This is an important thing. Let me say it again. The style of our marking points is not on each individual marker point, but on the entire marking group. Once the marking group is changed, the styles of all the following markers styles will be modified. Everyone must not get it wrong. This is our free marking point. Free markers are generally used when we have fixed positions. We use free markers, but sometimes we get them from data. We need to use our data marker points. At the same time, we also have another scenario. For this one, its position is not obtained from the outside, but we first take points in the entire screen. Then we take the points on the screen and convert the extracted position into our data marking points. Some people might say, why don't I just use free markers? Isn't that enough? Why do we do this extra step? That's what we'll talk about later. When we do data linkage with the panel, and when we really interact with our background data or database data, we need these. We need these. Although its position is fixed, but the data association on it is not fixed. This is a feature. So we need to convert our free marker points into data marker points. Of course, if your data itself is. The mark itself comes from the data. You can directly bind them. Where to bind? We also selected the marker group. There is a data here. If we have data, we can just drag it up. There are two types of markings here. One is called latitude and longitude coordinates, and the other is spatial coordinates. Both can be bounded. Let me continue to talk about our free markers. Into our data marker points. First, we select all the markers under this marker point. All the marks under the mark group. Select all of them and press Shift to select all. Then right-click. There is a Copy Data. After copying the data, we opened an Excel. And create a new empty Excel. Or WPS is fine. Here I use WPS. Create a new blank WPS, for example, like this, and create a blank WPS. Then we in this first, and paste it directly with Ctrl V1. And it will be pasted directly. There are many things. Now we only need to look at the position and name columns. Of course, it's best for us. It's best to add an ID or key. Add an ID or key in front. We can match the ID to correspond with the ID in the database. Then we can do data linkage later. Because I don't have it here, I just save it like this. Then save it as Mark Point Test Data. Let's save it. After savings, we close this. Then we click Edit Data here. Then we imported and import this data. And save it as Mark Point Test Data. We click OK after importing it. On this marker point, delete all the previous markers. Delete the free marker. Then we click on the mark group. Then we select the right side here. The Data tab. First, we cut it into the longitude and latitude because X, Y, and Z are the spatial coordinates, and the latitude and longitude are the latitude and longitude coordinates. Then we drag the ID to the key and name to name, and position to the position. You can see the labels just now. And the free marker points will all appear. Of course, our rotation, scaling, and following objects can also be attached. But in this case, we didn't specifically handle rotation, scaling, and following objects, so we don't need to pull it in here. Later, for example, on our official website, such as the case of Haichuang, its parking lot has rotation. It even has, for example, layered animations. I want this punctuation to move up and down with this layer. Then it will follow the object. Then this thing needs to be dragged up. If not, you cannot drag it. It doesn't matter if you don't drag it up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't drag it up. In this way, we have converted our free marker points into data marker points. And this data can be linked with our other data. Whether it's for linkage screening or weight transfer to further process it. Today, we have looked at the basic concept of the marking point, and how to use the marked points if you need to, using the documents of the Wings engine to search for documents, and some details and chapters in the document. Meanwhile, we also looked at the conversion between our free and data marking points. That's all for this class. Thank you all.